about comic books. The only thing about it was, well, it's the United States, and we don't see comic books as a career, right? So the really shitty thing about it was it only lasted, I think, 5 or 6 years. Luckily, I got to the second year of it, so it was a 3-year program. No homework. I was like, oh, thank God. I didn't need to take math or history or any of that crap. I was like, I just want to draw.
Yeah.
So my teacher was Jill Thompson.
Oh, wow.
So Jill Thompson. I knew Jill Thompson even before that because I used to see her in conventions a lot too. Okay. So when I got to the school and they were showing me around, and it was like, oh, well, here's the person who's going to interview. I was like, oh, it's Jill Thompson. I know you. But she's the reason why, if you guys ever wonder why I'm in comic books, it's because of Jill Thompson.
Wow.
Because Jill Thompson, when I did my interview, she saw my portfolio, and she had told me right there, she's like, if you come to this school, I promise you that we can teach you and you will become a really good comic book artist.
Nice.
And she was the first person to also buy art from me too.
Wow.
So she wrote a check.
Yeah.
I was like a little kid. I was like, oh, my first check.
Cool.
And I ran home. I scanned it. I printed it out. I had it framed for it. I was like, my first check. So yeah, Jill Thompson's the reason why I continue this as a career. So.
That's dope. What is she doing now?
Right?
We got here a little late, so.
So this is something I wanted to get done since you'll be here, because I'm local, right?
Oh, okay.
And since I finished my ASM run from 1963 to 2024, it's like, dude, I got to get Maria Wolf to do something on one of my books. And it's a long run. It's hard to do one run. Super hard, especially New Spider-Man.
Right.
Super hard.
But they did it, man.
Yes.
Well, you know what's funny too? I love Humberto Ramos. He's my top 2 favorite artists. He's also the reason why I like comic books.
Yeah.
And I finally got to do a cover for his book he did. There's the cover that's in there with the jackal, something like that. That's the villain. So
yeah.
I found out he's the one drawing that series, and I was like, oh, and I did a variant cover for you. I was like,
oh, that's cool. That's
so when I see him, hopefully in San Diego, I'm gonna talk to him. Be like, look, I did a cover for you. So.
And your line work's just so cool. So much motion and like movement
Thank
going
you.
on. Love it.
Maria, keep up the enthusiasm.
Well, thank you.
Because it's so easy to get beat down in this industry.
Well, no, I tell people, I'm very truthful. Like when people tell me, well, how do I get my kids into this? I was like, look, I'm gonna be realistic with you. This is such a rewarding career, but it's such a punishing career too. It will break you. It breaks you. It makes grown men cry. I've seen it. I've seen it happen at every convention.
Wow.
But truly, you got to have like a thick skin to survive this.
Because the other artists aren't going to want to give you their job, right? Because you're competing for their job,
right?
So,
well, and that's the thing too. We have that obscurity that that we're all against each other. I think there's room for everybody, right? Actually, I think they should have healthy competition.
Right. Well, the thing about it is, you always should have your voice.
Thank you.
Right? And as long as you keep true to yourself, you'll have a voice.
Well, this is what I tell people. Like when they come into the industry, right? I always tell them this. I'm glad you like Jim Lee.
Right.
I'm glad you like McFarlane. Right. Yeah. There's one of them. So every time I go to a convention, I always look at the table and I'm like, you see a bunch of people trying to be Jim Lee and a bunch of people trying to be McFarlane. Right. That's the thing. There was only one. Yeah. And he has the style. You can't mimic him because once you mimic him, you blend in with everybody else, right? So you don't stand out.
Well, the thing about it is, Jim, as long as he can still draw, will still get those gigs.
Right.
And you won't because, he has the name.
And don't get me wrong. Yeah, you can mimic the artist, right? And you can have their style. Because, some artists hire people who draw exactly like them. But then why do you want to be the copy of that person, right?
That's the whole point.
Like Joe Mad does that. Joe Mad has a bunch of artists that draw just like Joe Mad, right? So that he doesn't need to draw them more. See, he got smart. He's like, I don't need to draw. But I'll find artists that know how to draw like me. So, no, like I said.
You have a very unique style, so
it is very unique.
Definitely got that down.
Another guy that's not similar to you, but you guys both execute a similar motion is Warren Johnson.
Oh, Daniel Warren. Yeah, that's my buddy.
You guys have the same, not similar style, but you guys have the execution of like motion and just like
energy.
Energy's coming out of it.
That's what it is. Well, we talked about that too, but like, Like I said, you could have people you inspire. Like I said, Umberto and Joe Matt are my biggest inspirations.
Yeah.
But I dare not try to mimic them.
Yeah.
Naturally, as an artist, you're gonna copy them little by little.
Sure.
So like, if I see Joe Matt how he does his fingers, like naturally my hands are like, ooh, I want to draw how he draws that finger.
Right.
Chief too, the way he drew his saber tooth was like, oh, I want to draw.
Yeah.
You know, he draws saber tooth like an actual like monster. I was like,
Right,
oh, that's great. So it all just matters.
So cool. It's a freaking sweet Mary Jane so far. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, you just gotta find yourself, you know, and that's the thing too. Like I feel like, and I get it. I don't like the idea of piggybacking on somebody else's success. You gotta make your own story. You gotta do your own thing, because in the end, it's you. It really is.
Yep. You guys have any special speakers like into your school and did like special like?
Tim Seeley. Oh no,
Seeley was there.
Tim Seeley, and I had the guy who did Sin City.
Oh, Frank Miller?
Yeah.
He came by.
Everybody's like, there's Freddy Krueger. Because he came in here with his striped shirt and his hat, and everyone's like, oh my. I had him. But you know what? Even if I met more special people at the convention. I got to finally get to meet Doug Mankey. Oh,
nice.
sweet
That guy's
guy.
dope.
Dude,
I
he's
love his
freaking
work.
awesome.
I love his work.